भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
इति नाना योगचर्या चरणो भगवान कैवल्यपतिर्षभो विरत।
इति नाना योगचर्या चरणो भगवान कैवल्यपतिर्षभो विरत।
परम परम महानंदानुभाव आत्मनि सर्वेषां भूतानां आत्मभूते।
परम महानन्दानुभव आत्मनि सर्वेषां भूतानाम् आत्मभूते।
भगवती वासुदेव आत्मनो अव्यवधानानंत रोदर भावेन सिद्ध।
भगवती वासुदेव आत्मनो अव्यवधानानन्त रोदरो भावेन सिद्ध।
समस्तार्थ परिपूर्णो योगैश्वर्याणि वैहाव्यस मनो जवानंतर्धान।
समस्तार्थ परिपूर्णो योगैश्वर्याणि वैहायस्य मनोजय जवान्तर्धान।
परकाय प्रवेश दूर दूर ग्रहणादिनी यद्रच्छयापोगतानि नांजसा नृप हृदयेन भयानंदत।
परकाय प्रवेश दूर ग्रहणादीनि पृच्छया पगतानि नाञ्जसा नृप हृदयेनाभिनन्द।
Yes.
Very true.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Translation. O King Parikshit, just to show all the yogis the mystic process, Lord Rishabh, the plenary expansion of Lord Krishna performed wonderful activities. Actually, he was the master of liberation and was fully absorbed in transcendental bliss, which increased 1,000-fold. Lord Krishna, Vasudev, the son of Vasudev, is the original source of Lord Rishabh. There is no difference in their constitution, and consequently, Lord Rishabdev awakened the loving symptoms of crying, laughing, and shivering. He was always absorbed in transcendental love. Due to this, all mystic powers automatically approached him, such as the ability to travel in outer space at the speed of the mind, to appear and disappear, to enter the bodies of others, and to see things far, far away. Although he could do all this, he did not exercise these powers. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19.149, it is said, Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataiva Shant Mukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Yasham. The word Shant means completely peaceful. Unless one's desires are fulfilled, one cannot be peaceful. Everyone is trying to fulfill his aspirations and desires, be they material or spiritual. Those in the material world are ashant, without peace, because they have so many desires to fulfill. The pure devotee, however, is without desire. Anya Vilashita Shunya. A pure devotee is completely free from all kinds of material desires. Karmis, on the other hand, are simply full of desires because they try to enjoy sense gratification. They are not peaceful in this life nor the next, during the past, present, or future. Similarly, Gyanis are always aspiring for liberation and trying to become one with the Supreme. Yogis are aspiring after many siddhis, powers, anima, lagima, prapti, etc. However, a devotee is not at all interested in these things because he is fully dependent on the mercy of Krishna. Krishna is Yogeshwar, the possessor of all mystic powers, siddhis, and he is Atmaram, fully self-satisfied. The yoga siddhis are described in this verse. One can fly in outer space without the aid of a machine, and he can travel at the speed of the mind. This means that as soon as a yogi desires to go somewhere within this universe or even beyond this universe, he can do so immediately. One cannot estimate the speed of mind, for within a second the mind can go many, many millions of miles. Sometimes yogis enter the bodies of other people and act as they desire when their bodies are not working properly. When the body becomes old, a perfect yogi can find a young, able body. Giving up his old body, the yogi can enter into the young body and act as he pleases. Being a plenary expansion of Lord Vasudev, Lord Rishabdev possessed all these mystic yoga powers, but he was satisfied with his devotional love of Krishna, which was evinced by the ecstatic symptoms such as crying, laughing, and shivering. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fifth canto, fifth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Rishabdeva's teachings to his sons. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhu. So, He was the master of liberation and was fully absorbed in transcendental bliss, which increased 1,000-fold. So, in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. So, what essentially Krishna is saying that one who is situated in Krishna consciousness, one who is situated, one who has the realization of the Supreme Lord. So naturally, Brahma Bhuta stage means that one has Jnana and Vijnana both. So one who is situated in that position becomes peaceful, Nishkam. If you think that this material life is actually just a dream, and then you also know that spiritual life is the reality, automatically all the karma or the desire to enjoy this material senses will vanish. Actually, that's a sign of also our advancement, how much more peaceful we are in this material environment. If we still have so much desire, if we have pride in our own achievements, if we think that we have been something in this material world, then we are not really spiritually advanced. If we think this material world is just an illusion, everything that we have done here is just illusory, then we'll become peaceful. So understanding Krishna will then happen. So Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Ataiva Shant. Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Shakali Ashant. Bhukti, those who want to enjoy. Mukti, those who want even liberation from this world. And Siddhi Kami, those who want siddhis. All those who desire either material enjoyment or liberation from material enjoyment or some kind of mystic achievements. They are all ever going to be, they are always going to remain ashant. That means they're always going to be disturbed. We see Durvasa Muni, he's a mystic, he's a very powerful mystic, but he's always angry. He's always ready to curse someone. Why is that? Because he's still in material consciousness. The consciousness has not transcended the material nature. And even though he's a partial incarnation. Then Mukti, those who desire liberation, the Mayavadis. The Mayavadis are always disturbed. And the simple reason is because what Mayavadis are seeking, what the Brahmavadis are seeking simply doesn't exist. The existence of Brahman or the existence of the absolute impersonal feature, these are temporary manifestations for the living entity. One cannot live there. One cannot live in the patio of the house. One must come inside. So Brahman is an intermediary stage between the material nature and the spiritual world. How can one survive there? The living entity may be Satchidanand there. He may become free from the influence of material nature for some while. But Ahankar will still act on him. He may feel relief from birth, old age, disease and death and the paraphernalia attached to the body. We see the great sages. One may become free from those attachments, but the attachment to the Ahankar will still remain. And as soon as a tiny desire manifests in the heart, the living entity is forced to take another body. And therefore he becomes Ashanta. So Mukti Kami is become Ashanta. And that's why the word used here is Mukti Kami. Mukti Kami, Mukti Kami and Siddhi Kami. So Mukti Kami will be always Ashanta because that's also Kama. That doesn't please Krishna. Okay, you like for example, if a child is spoiled, he's taking drugs and doing nonsense. And if he stops doing that, that is a relief to the parent. But the happiness will come only when the child starts doing something positive. A mischievous child is punished by the teacher. The teacher may tell him to stand in the corner of the room. That is not pleasing to the teacher. It's just a stop and disturbance. But the teacher will be pleased when the child actually starts studying properly. So if one wants advancement in bhakti, then one has to do something positively for the Lord. So Shant, one can only become Shant when one becomes a Krishna Bhakta and Nishkam, without material desires. So the meaning of this particular verse here is that if we have the desire to enjoy even in bhakti, then even there we'll become unhappy. Like we were discussing about this the other day when I shared that post from Srila Prabhupada. The Prabhupada says that if you are enjoying the Kirtan, then that is not really Kirtan. The Kirtan should be pleasing to Krishna. It's not meant for our pleasure. So that is also in the category of Kama. So sometimes we see that kirtans are sung in some rock tunes or Bollywood tunes because those tunes are pleasing to us. From scriptures, we should find out what tunes are pleasing to Krishna. The rag and raginis which are described in the Samaveda, they are meant for the pleasure of the Lord. So they are meant for the pleasure of the Lord, and therefore they are pleasing to Krishna. So if you really like music, if you really want to please Krishna with kirtan, you should find out those tunes, find out that music, and sing Krishna's praise in those tunes. For example, if you like sweet rice, you're not going to pour it in a shoe and eat it from there, even though the shoe may resemble a vessel. Just like that, why would you serve Krishna's name in a dirty tune? So, I mean, it's a kind of a, self gratification to say everything is coming from Krishna. So Bollywood tune is also coming from Krishna. No. You may like somebody, but you may not like that person's tool. So that is Maya. So that's not pleasing to Krishna. You should sing in tunes which are accepted by the acharyas. They are pleasing to Krishna. So when a devotee becomes advanced in bhakti, these siddhis automatically manifest. So there's very interesting statement by Srila Prabhupada. It says, for 12 years, if you practice brahmacharya and follow all the rules and regulations sincerely, then whatever you speak will come true. So you see, because even if you are not a pure devotee, you are acting on the platform of pure devotion, sincerely following the acharya. Therefore, if you make a mistake, Krishna will make that mistake itself. So that's how spiritual life works. So one will attain all kinds of. So there's an apocryphal incident in the life of Shyamananda Prabhu. Shyamananda Prabhu of Orissa. So Shyamananda Prabhu, so he was living in this small village, which is nowadays known as Kirchur Gopinath. Around near that village was his village also. So Shyamananda Prabhu was living there. So one day, one mystic came to that village, and the mystic had the power to fly. So he came to So one of the disciples came to Shyamananda Prabhu in the morning time. He said, Prabhu, such and such personality has come to our village. He can fly in the air. He's a great yogi. So Shyamananda Prabhu said, he was brushing his teeth at that time. So he said, okay, that's nice, but you should chant Hare Krishna. So this disciple said, no, Prabhu, I don't think you heard me. This yogi can actually fly. So Shyamananda Prabhu smiled. He said, yes, I know. Chant Hare Krishna. So he said, no, Prabhu, he can actually fly in the sky. So Shyamananda Prabhu just took his, this brushing stick from his mouth, threw it on the floor and stood on it, and he flew through the room. And then he came back and said, okay, now please go and chant Hare Krishna. So this is like an incident mentioned in, I think, Gaur Desh Deepika or one of the books. So you see, a devotee automatically gets the siddhis because he's already in communion with the Lord. So the Lord reveals whatever is necessary for his bhakti. So all these byproducts also manifest as one advances more and more in bhakti. So we can see these the siddhis which are being mentioned here: ability to travel in outer space at the speed of mind, to appear and disappear, to enter the body of others, and to see things far, far away. Although he could do all this, he did not exercise these powers. So a devotee is not interested in any of this. He already has attained Yogeshwara. What is Sanjay saying in Bhagavad Gita, the last verse? Yatra Yogeshwara Krishno, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Shrir Vijayor Bhutir Dhruvanitir Mater Mama. So wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, wherever there is Arjun, the master archer, so there is bound to be, opulence, victory, and extraordinary power and morality, Dhruvaniti. So this is what Sanjay is speaking about. So if you have attained Krishna, where is the question of needing anything else? One who has attained Krishna is complete. Why do we want to look into faraway places? Because we want to see the beauty. People travel to Manali, they travel to Kerala, people travel to Northeast India, or they travel to Himalayas to see. Why do people go to Khandala and Lonavala? Because you can see far, far away from the mountain, from those hills. You can see far, far away. So you want to see far away. Because you just don't want to see far away, you want to see beauty of the far away places. So if you have attained Krishna, you can see his beauty. His beauty is complete. If you look into the face of Krishna, you don't need to see anything else. Everything that is beautiful in this world is manifesting from Krishna. So if you have attained Krishna, where is the need for traveling to traveling to Switzerland, to Lake Lucerne, and to travel to Las Vegas or to travel to California? No, everything is emanating from Krishna. They are nothing but a tiny, tiny, tiny fragment of Krishna's beauty. You can imagine how much more beautiful Krishna himself must be. He is the fountainhead of all beauty. So likewise, other siddhis also, to appear and disappear. Why do you want to do any of that? When you are with Krishna, you have conquered the whole universe. To travel in outer space at the speed of mind, well, you have attained Krishna. Krishna, aham sarvasya prabhava. Everything is emanating from Krishna. So why do you need to travel? Anything you want to know will manifest there. Like Srila Prabhupada is mentioning in one of his lectures. Somebody asked him that this Nandagram and Vrindavan are so far away from each other. Parsana, Nandagram, Vrindavan. How could small boys and girls like Radha and Krishna travel so far? So Prabhupada says, don't bother your head with all these questions. They are mystical personalities. They are not like you or me. Krishna doesn't need to take a rickshaw from Chattikara to travel to Radha Kund. He can travel. He's Yogeshwar. He has all these mystic powers. So if it is needed, the devotee will also have that. So in this way, a devotee has already attained everything. Therefore, he is Nishkam. And therefore, Maharaj Rishabdev could also travel from place to place. Hare Krishna. Yes, any questions or comments?
Pranam. So this is text 33. The translation said the stool and urine were so aromatic that they find 80 miles of the countrywide. Right? 80, does it have any particular reason or just mention?
It's just like it is just what it is. Okay. There's no particular significance to this 80 miles.
That is not true. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, we had this question. I had this question from a while back. In the same chapter, there was this verse where it was mentioned that Rishabdev had 100 sons, and all of his sons were transcendently qualified or something like that.
Correct.
But then we see that so many of Lord's incarnations have had demoniac sons as well.
Yes.
And in that purport, actually, Prabhupada mentions that because Rishabdev is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his heart is all pure. That's why his sons will be, transcendently powerful over it. How do we understand this?
Okay, that's a very nice question, actually. So, the Lord is supremely pure. So naturally, he will never not have Varna Sankar. But the living entity always has his independence. So even when the son is even when the child of the Lord is not a devotee, he is extraordinary. Bhaumasur was an extraordinary demon. So he was the son of, he wasn't like really the son of Lord in that sense. When Varahadev touched the earth, Bhaumasur was born. So certainly in that sense, yes, he was the son of the Lord. He's mentioned as such in the Shastras. But independence always exists. Like for example, the sons of Advaita Acharya, who is Sadashiva, and the sons of Nityanand Prabhu, who is Balram himself, they became atheistic. So that's why you see, Prabhu, that Grihastha Ashram is always a lottery. And that's the danger of Grihastha Ashram, because whenever anyone has a child, they will become attached to it. So we see, even in the example of Maharaj, of the King Vena, the example of King Vena which we saw, Maharaj Ang was attached to the child. When he saw the demonic nature of the son, he became disgusted and he left. He could have simply killed, nonsense. According to scriptures, he's an offender. He could be killed. But Maharaj Ang chose to take sannyas. So you see, that's the danger of Grihastha Ashram, because the child may be Varnasankar, but the parent will become attached to it. And that becomes a hellish attachment.
That's great.
So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said, like, I would have hundreds of sons if only I had a guarantee that they would be Vaishnava. So it's not that Grihastha Ashram is condemned, but it's a dangerous situation. It's a dangerous place.
Yes.
Padam padam yatra vidam. At the moment of conception, consciousness could be anything. A momentary lapse of concentration, a momentary lapse of consciousness, and immediately a demon will be born. So in this case, one of the precluding conditions was that the Lord's heart was pure, so the sons were pure. But it's like a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition. The child must also exercise his independence properly. In case of Maharaj Ang, the condition was not met. The wife was demonic.
So then it's not just about the consciousness of the parents, it's also the association that the child has.
Yes, many things, many factors come into play.
Yeah, like I was thinking of Prahlad Maharaj as well.
Yeah, Prahlad Maharaj, he was conceived by a demon who was like always inimical to Krishna. But he was preached within the womb. He heard the whole Bhagavatam and he became purified. So the point is that, Maharaj Prahlad exercised his good consciousness. Also, he was sustained in the association of the devotees, the saintly souls. So, sadhu sangha, he maintained continuous sadhu sangha. But then again, Prabhu, when we are discussing the Shastras, we are somewhat in the domain of generalizations. These are like general conditions which are favorable. Because material world is like, very unpredictable place. Padam padam yatra vidam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, on this Grihastha Ashram or Grihastha life is this path is dangerous. Just like I would like to understand, Prabhuji, that we can see from Bhagavatam where you have given example of King Benas, and there are many other examples also. We can see in 9th canto where one can understand Grihastha life or association of women or wife, son, all these things is a bondage. But Prabhuji, this when we see also like other example of Dhruva Maharaj or Prahlad Maharaj or all great acharyas, mostly the great acharyas, they are all enter into Grihastha ashramas. And even our Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, like the many people, when we say this, many people in a preaching or in a common sense, people normally tell these things, that why he left families and all these things. No need like that, they say. So in general sense, how we can tell common people, Prabhuji, like how we can make them understand that this path is dangerous? Because there are so many evidence in Shastras, Vedic scriptures, so many examples who have perfectly, they have done their material Grihastha duties, and as well as they have perfected their life also.
Yes. So for every grahastha who has perfected his life, there are millions of grahasthas who have not.
Yes.
We are all there. We are. See, look at the whole list here. 16 people in this list that we are seeing here. We have not perfected our lives. So you see, Prabhu, path of Shurasya dharaya nishita duratyaya. It's a very difficult path. So what we are talking about, and we are not saying that by taking sannyas you will become a perfect soul. We're not saying that being a brahmachari will make you a perfect soul. No, we're only talking about conditions which will improve your condition. We're only talking about those, positions which will be favorable to you. Brahmacharya is favorable, sannyas is favorable. Of course, if someone desires to fall down, he'll fall down from any position. If someone is determined to become perfected, he'll become perfected anyhow. Devahuti's beauty was so unparalleled that a demigod fainted. And yet, Kardam Muni could take sannyas very easily. So, Kardam Muni could perfect his life. He even got the Lord as his son. And yet, at the same time, we see the story of the ancestors of Maharaj Rishabdev. They meditated on apsaras. So, you see, they were captivated by the beauty of an apsara, heavenly damsel. So, you see, Prabhu, one whose consciousness is contaminated will always find an excuse to become contaminated. In the general masses, we don't know. General masses, we can safely assume, are all contaminated. So we should tell them about the favorable conditions for spiritual life. But this is not a discussion we can have generally. Like in a public lecture, if I go to some school to preach, I'm not going to tell them that, all of you should become brahmacharis or sannyasis. Rest life is dangerous. At least not in the first session. But eventually this will come. Because you see, we have been reading Bhagavatam for 3 years now. And practically in every chapter, this discussion comes up. Of brahmacharya, of avoiding grahasthashram, of taking renunciation, of preaching, of traveling. So this must be a very important topic if our acharyas are repeating it so often. Again and again, nearly every purport this topic is coming up. So even though our intelligence is very dull and we don't understand, at least academically we should understand that this is a very important topic. Because what is grahasthashram? It is just body. It's comfort of the body. I have a house, I have a family, they will take care of me. That is the consciousness of the body. But what is a sannyasi? Sannyasi is living at the mercy of the Lord. He understands that this material nature is transitory. It is always changing. Therefore, he depends constantly on the mercy of the Lord. And therefore, he is able to remember the Lord continuously. A grahastha thinks that he is the master of his world. Grahastha thinks, oh, I am the Lord and Master. This is my house. I have my family. I have my wealth. I have my relations to protect. This consciousness invariably becomes a part of grahastha ashram. Of course, I mean, you can't get married and tell your wife that, we depend totally on the mercy of Krishna. I don't know. My capability itself means nothing. The wife will run away. So you see, but a sannyasi or a brahmachari, you can easily tell, and they would appreciate. That means they're already in a very favorable position with respect to Krishna. They can advance. They're already in a very advanced platform. So when we are speaking to grahasthas, we should tell them that this is not a favorable position. That material life is very dangerous. They should not take it for granted. It has to be done in a discreet manner, gradually, and to those who have faith. People who have just come here to sing and dance and eat, they are dull. Shudras, they will not understand anything. They may be big men, lawyers, magistrates, engineers, doctors, but their brains are dull. They are animals. Dvipada Pashu. Animal society also has these kind of accomplished personalities. I was in Mayapur and they were using these bulls for pulling the ceremonial cart. And they had like big majestic horns and they were polished and they were looking very proud. And then there were bulls who were a little scraggy. They were used to pull the tourist carts and they were pulling garbage carts. So they didn't look too proud or anything. They looked a bit, sadder. So even in animal society, there is this kind of hierarchical system. So it's not anything very important in the material world that a person has some position. But Whether he has a transcendental consciousness, that's a very different question. So people are dull. We have to be very discreet when we are speaking to them. And we have to explain the importance of all these points. Otherwise, we are cheating them. So if they have sufficient faith in the holy names of the Lord, they would appreciate it. At least. Like, unlike some people who go about complaining against these things, that is like nonsense. That's a very animalistic attitude. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
On the similar line about that questions, why somebody is born as demonic. So it is also stated that a person is given birth in the family where he or she can progress in the Krishna consciousness, and also the circumstances are given accordingly. So if somebody is born in a family where devotional services and preaching are performed, then why still would somebody go into the other path?
Oh, that's a very good question. So, Prabhu, you're a mechanical engineer, right? We have this subject called advanced control systems, where how many parameters are affecting the performance of the system. So how many parameters, how many factors are influencing the consciousness of a living entity? Let's take the example of Ajamil. It's going to come in Bhagavatam only. Ajamil was the son of a Brahmana, and a very pious Brahmana at that. He was very pure in his habits and activities. He would daily worship the deities, he would respect the elders, he would study the scriptures, and he was a very pure soul. But one day, while he was collecting the flowers in the morning, he happened to see a Shudra and a prostitute behaving inappropriately in the forest. And that thought entered his heart. Dhyayato vishayana pumsha sangasteshu pajayate. And then what happened? He could not take his mind off that prostitute. And eventually he got her home. He neglected his own beautiful Brahminical wife and his parents. And he bore 8 or 10 sons with that prostitute. And he took to lowest habits. He became like a Chandal. He became Dasyu. He would arrest other people and he would rob them of their wealth. He became a dacoit from a pure Brahmana. So, dhyayato vishayana pumsha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama. So, lust developed within his heart. Kamat krodho vijayate. Therefore, he resorted, and when anger comes, there comes violence. So, he resorted to violence against other living entities. Krodhat bhavati sammoha. He became illusioned, and he bore many, many children with that, filthy lady. Kama, krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammodhat smriti vibhrama. So his memory was lost. His memory was illusioned completely. Smriti bhramashad buddhi nasho. And when the memory was illusioned, then his intelligence was lost. And what happened to him? At the end of it, Yamadutas came to take him. So, buddhi nashat pranashyati. So, pranashyati, destroyed. He was finished. Yamadutas coming is like the lowest of things. Someone is living in your building and some policemen come to arrest him. Then he has done something really very nasty. So if someone is really a sinful soul, very criminal soul, then only these Yamadutas will come. So that became the position of Ajamil. So that can happen to anyone. Ajamil was in a Brahminical family. So it can happen. So devotees are, they are also Brahminical. So there is no guarantee. So there are many, many factors. In his case, Ajamil had no intention. Ajamil had no intention of doing anything lusty. It was just an accident. But we live in a society. So Srila Prabhupada actually gives this example. He says, we live in a society which is completely surrounded by such Shudras and prostitutes. So what will be the position of a brahmachari in this society? And now even in India, even in India, if you go, such is the condition. If you go during the festival time, even in Vrindavan and Mayapur, you can find such conditions. So, and this was just a mere sight, not that he had any bad friends or anything. So you see how dangerous it is in this material world. So while we are talking of raising a family, I mean, we should understand our own position also. We are also living in danger.
Yes, Prabhuji, but then, I mean, that is the fact that we're living in the material world. And it is also mentioned that there is no need for one to go to the secluded places. So it's it's a contradictory, because if you live in the material world, then it is bound to happen that you will, I mean, accidentally see such things, even if you don't wish to do that. So,
so I think your question is then what should be done?
Yes.
So, Prabhu, you've seen these old Hindi or English war movies. Soldiers are charging at the enemy. And then some are getting shot. Some are moving forward. Others are getting shot dead. There's this movie on Netflix also, All Quiet on the Western Front. Soldiers are charging the enemy and some are dying, some are living. So you see, Prabhu, this is a war against Maya. The Acharyas are the generals and we are the soldiers. We are the foot soldiers. When the whistle blows, we have to take our rifle and charge the enemy. So some of us will die, Prabhupada said. Some of us will die. But that's a glorious death. In the battlefield of Mahabharata, the Kshatriyas were charging at Arjun and Yudhishthira and Bhim. They knew that these are transcendental personalities. If we are killed by them, we will be immediately delivered. So they were happy. It is mentioned that soldiers were laughing as they were charging at Arjun, because they knew that their destiny was now completely fulfilled by dying at the hands of Arjun. Like what ordinary Kshatriya could have attacked, could have challenged Arjun. But they did it, and they did it happily. They were not fearful. So we should also fearlessly we should go. Maya will try to kill us. In fact, there is practically a guarantee that we will die. I mean, in the war against Maya, it is like assured that we are going to fall down. But before falling down, as much as we can do, that's our glory. Because if we don't do anything, we will anyway fall down. Or rather, we are anyway fallen. So if we charge at the enemy and we do something at least for Krishna, like before falling down, if we can make at least one person chant Hare Krishna, that's our accomplishment. Krishna will recognize that.
That's a very good explanation. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hari Hari. Srila Prabhupada gave this explanation.
And this cements the thought that we were discussing yesterday, going somewhere where all this materialistic, I mean, you're bound to face them, but then you can at least try to reduce the exposure to the materialistic world. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't charge at the enemy machine gun. You you take some position.
Yes. Jai Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, yes. We start with the new chapter, chapter 6. The activities of Lord Rishabhdeva. This chapter tells how Lord Rishabhdeva left his body. He was not attached to his body even when it was being burnt up in a forest fire. When the seed of fruitive activity is burnt by the fire of knowledge, the spiritual properties and mystic powers are automatically manifest. Yet Bhakti Yoga is not affected by these mystic powers. An ordinary yogi is captivated by mystic powers and his progress checked. Therefore, a perfect yogi does not welcome them. Because the mind is restless and undependable, it must always remain under control. Even the mind of the advanced yogi Shaubhari created such a disturbance that he lost his yogic mystic powers. Due to a restless mind, even a very advanced yogi can fall down. The mind is so restless that it induces even a perfect yogi to be controlled by the senses. Therefore, Lord Rishabhdeva, for the instruction of all yogis, showed the process of quitting the body. While traveling in South India, through the provinces of Karnataka, Konka, Venka, and South India, Konka, Venka, and Kutaka, Lord Rishabdev arrived in the neighborhood of Kutakchala. There was a forest fire that burned the forest and Lord Rishabdev's body to ashes. The pastimes of Lord Rishabdev as a liberated soul were known by the king of Konka, Venka, and Kutaka. This king was named, the king's name was Arhat. He later became captivated by the illusory energy, and in this condition, he set forth the basic principles of Jainism. Lord Rishabdev set forth the principle of religion that can free one from the material bondage. And he put an end to all kinds of atheistic activities. On this earth, the place known as Bharatvarsh was a very pious land because the Supreme Lord appeared there when he wanted to incarnate. Lord Rishabdev neglected all the mystic powers for which the so-called yogis hanker. Because of the beauty of devotional service, devotees are not at all interested in so-called mystic power. The master of all yogic power, Lord Krishna, can exhibit all powers on behalf of his devotee. Devotional service is more valuable than yogic mystic powers. Devotees, who are sometimes misled, aspire for liberation and mystic powers. The Supreme Lord gives these devotees whatever they desire, but they cannot attain the most important function of devotional service. Devotional service to the Lord is guaranteed for those who do not desire liberation and mystic power. Hare Krishna. Meaning that a devotee certainly does not desire material objects. He doesn't desire liberation and mystic power. What to speak of material objects? Yes. Text 1.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Rishabdev, is it that the first incarnation of Jainism? Same
No.
Rishabdev?
No.
Uh-huh.
Though
And
the
this is-
Jainis claim that they follow Rishabdev,
Yeah.
but they don't understand what Rishabdev did. Like in today's time also, so many people say, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that, but they do whatever nonsense they feel like.
I found the same thing because he said the body was burnt in that forest, jungle forest.
Yeah.
Then they say he was going to the southern province of southern part, and that king recognized him, and then your Jainism. So then how is that when his body was burnt, then how was he found in the Jainism?
So first he went through Konka, Venka, and then Kutakachal. In
Right.
Kutakachal, his body got burnt. So when he was passing through Konka, Venka, and Kutak, at that time, Arhat saw him.
Uh-huh.
And then he became Jain.
So why can't he be the first incarnation then?
Pardon?
Because he was a Lord.
Hmm.
In any case, he was Lord. So incarnation means he, as the Lord here, similarly he appeared in Jainism, one of the incarnations.
No. Arhat was not an incarnation. Only Rishabdev was.
I'm talking only Rishabdev.
Yeah. So
whether this is Rishabdev,
Hmm.
then subsequently was recognized by the Jainis as their incarnation.
Yeah, correct.
First Tirthankar.
First Tirthankar. Yes. So the parampara was completely all right till Rishabdev, but Arhat did not understand the teachings properly.
Then degradation started.
Then it was like lost. Parampara was lost. So it became some concocted religion. Like the Sahajiyas. Sahajiyas came from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Aula, Baula, Karta, Bhaja. These are all these Apasampradayas also came from Mahaprabhu because they couldn't understand Mahaprabhu's teachings. Like in our own Sampradaya, we are seeing devotees keeping long hair, beards, dancing to Bollywood kirtans, having girlfriends, illicit sex, and claiming to be following ISKCON. So that is Apasampradaya. That is not ISKCON. We cannot modify the principles and claim that to be the Acharya's principles. So we can see it in front of our eyes also. The principles cannot change.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so anyone else has any questions or comments here? The next verse is a bit longer. Maybe we'll take it tomorrow. So thank you very much. Yeah, yes, Prabhu.
It was only one text I did. One text only. It's okay, they'll take it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's slightly longer verse. It'll take more than 4-5 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So, okay, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. Prabhuji,
Yeah.
is anything more about this Jainism going to be told in the further verses?
No, only this much.
Oh.
That's it.
Okay.
It's like not necessary anymore.
Okay. Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.